What do you do if you're a mechanic with means and somebody that you find interesting breaks down from out of state in Utah? You reach out to them on Facebook and say, hey Rodney, come on over and let's fix this together. So that's what I did, and because I'm a YouTuber and I film this kind of stuff, that's what we did. So this is the story of it. It's got an old beater Jeep and we fixed a whole bunch of stuff on it, but in this video I'm just going to tell you I went to pick up his Jeep with the trailer and it wouldn't crank over, but it had power. So I jumped the starter to the signal wire. If you're experienced in mechanics, you'll know what that's about. If you're not, I've got a link in the description that shows you how to get a starter to go one more time, or how to jump a starter with bypassing the ignition switch. We did that, put it on the trailer, brought it back, and got a closer look at it. And here's what we found. That's what we're going to do in this video. And then I'm going to do some more videos about blowing the fuse on the fuel injection circuit. We had a really weird problem with that. That should be a good video. And then we fixed his death wobble, and that took some creativity and some fabric cobbling, and those videos are forthcoming, but let's get to it. He's got some symptoms with his Jeep, and we're just going to let you hear it straight from him what happened.
A couple years ago, I was given the opportunity to purchase this 2003 Grand Cherokee Laredo 4.0 straight 6-cylinder 4-wheel drive super vehicle for a purchase price of $500. Everybody told me that's a horrible idea. Don't buy it. But I'm really good with horrible ideas, so I bought it. Since purchasing this vehicle, some of the first indications that there was that it might have been a bad idea was when you drive it, because it just intermittently it just won't start. Sometimes it'll crank, you crank, and then it won't turn over. And if you go to look online for answers to this, you'll find that there's hundreds of videos and they all have a different idea. So you're lost. Recently, I've enjoyed a period of time where it would turn on almost every single time I tried to turn it on, which is good. Like I said, the Jeep is a wonderful vehicle when it's actually operating. It's the 87% of the other time where it's just kind of sitting in your driveway, and it's a little frustrating. So recently I was driving down, going down a hill, and I was driving and everything's going pretty good, and then I realized that the car was no longer functioning properly. Well, not that it ever actually does fully function properly, but this particular time it would not accelerate. You push on the gas and nothing would happen. It was just, wouldn't even make noise. It wouldn't even wouldn't rev or anything. It was nothing. But fortunately, I was able to get off the side of the road without inconveniencing anybody, any other drivers. So even though I crossed 3 lanes of traffic, there wasn't any traffic to be disturbed, so people didn't think badly of me or waved inappropriately. So I consider that a win. I get off the road into a bus lane and turned off the vehicle, and then tried to turn it back on, and it won't start. So I just kind of stood there. I put the hood up and everything, just like this, which is the universal indication of, hey, something's wrong, it's not my fault, please don't say horrible things to me because I'm parked in an inappropriate place. Then I got a tow truck, took me home. Brian called me and said, hey, why don't you bring it over here? And even though I'm a prideful person, I was like, oh, no, I can fix it myself. The better part of me said, okay, let's do that. He's got a warm garage. I've been rolling around in the dirt in cold weather. So it's really not. This is the first day in 5 days that my butt has not been really freezing cold. So I really appreciate the help.
So we went and picked this vehicle up. We were able to get it to start by running power to the starter, so we know that the starter has some redeeming quality. One of the first things I noticed about this Jeep is that it's mostly the same color. It's the same color that it was coming from the factory, but there are some certain details or speed holes, as Homer Simpson calls them.
I like to call this the flow-through system.
So you can get plenty of air and cooling to whatever is back in here. We don't know what's back there, but we're sure that it's cooler than it would have been.
Yes, it stays well ventilated.
Looking under the hood, I've never seen a vehicle rust under the hood like this. Of course, I'm not from New England or the Rust Belt, but that is pretty spectacular. And as Rodney said, it's been gussied up. It's better than it was.
It's, it turns the rust to paintable surface. Well, it doesn't turn the rust to anything other than just rust covered by paint, actually.
That relates to our story with the starter not starting, because this is what we found with that. So the screwdriver's stuck in there like it's a spade connector. I've got a wire to that, a wire to the connector, and go ahead and crank it. And I had signal, so how come it wasn't starting, but I could get it to start directly by the starter, and then that's when it hit me. The ignition switch is fine, the starter's fine, but due to the corrosion from the salt in Connecticut, there's a good chance it would start if I plugged it back in, and sure enough, when we tried it while it was connected, everything was good. So if the starter's good, ignition switch is good, that solves our no start issue. We just need to clean up the rust there. But we still don't know why the fuse was blowing unless it's getting intermittent connection and that's popping the fuse. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the battery terminals, because obviously we've got some issues there. So we're going to address that, because whether that is our concern or not, if it isn't our concern today, it will be soon. So we're going to expose the cable, and that can free up length. Instead of having it come straight from the side like this, we may have to pull some more slack from here and have it come in from this direction with one of these new terminals. So wherever you have corrosion like this, it'll go up through the cable, and we may have corrosion clear back to here, we're not sure. So we've got all of this undone to give us options, but I'm going to go by the width first. So I'm going to cut right here first. We're going to look at it and see if we got clean copper, and we have some clean copper, and I think there's a little corrosion around the outside of it. So I'm just going to get it to crunch on the cable outside. You can kind of hear that. And it looks like we do have some on the outside, but that's pretty clean. That's not bad. So we'll cut back, see if we need to cut some more. But I usually go about 1/2 inch a time. If I'm really shy on cable real estate, I may do a 1/4 inch at a time. Needs a little more crunch on the side here. There we go. Didn't hear it, but you feel it. See how that's still got some corrosion in there? I'm going to try cutting it back. We've got some room to do that. Corrosion's like ants. If you have ants, it's hard to get rid of them all the way. Best thing to do is just cut it away till there isn't any, and then splice in new. That way everything's clean and there's nowhere for corrosion to start. Look at that, beautiful. If you got something that spins like this, sometimes the best thing to do is to just let it spin for a minute and then come back with some pliers. And sometimes that's all the loosening that you need. You can just pull it off. There's no need to go crazy with penetrant or torches or anything like that, especially with all of these warnings about things exploding. Loosen this up, smash this to make it more of an oval shape, and then from that oval shape you can tighten it back down. This cable's pretty clean, so that might be our best bet. So I may try to salvage this and then cut a little material from the inside or spread it. We haven't stripped or messed anything up yet, so we're just gonna see if we can prevent that from happening to begin with. We're gonna back it off, we're gonna go forward, we're gonna go back again. Sometimes if it's grown because of the rust, it'll cut it back down to where it's small enough for the nut to get back over it. You can see there's a little bit of damage or something on it right here where it's had some mechanical damage where something hit it. If you take a little Dremel or a cutting tool and just nick it right there, the nut will sail over the top of where the absence is. This tool's a little overkill. I'm using my thumb against the guard to kind of control this thing. See, it had a little bit of a hiccup, but went right over the damaged area. Get that to loosen up a little bit. Normally that works. This is an exception. It's got a lot of corrosion on it. It's crazy to me how stuck that is. That's because it's been tightened so hard. So we'll misuse another tool and get that to spread. I was hoping to get the bolt all the way out, but the way it looks, I think we've got the progress we need for now. We're not building a piano, as they say. And this is a $500 project, so we're going to save money where we can, because we've got some, that'll save us some budget for some other priority repairs. So this is already tight, and I haven't even tightened it yet. Still a little bit loose. See if it'll cinch down or not. We may chop this one off anyway. Most people would have by now. That will work, that's acceptable. We're gonna do a terminal from each end and have them come together over the battery like this. It's just kind of a Jeep 4-liter thing I've come up with. In order to get this to have good contact and not come undone, you've got to get a really good crush on these things. So what I do is I get that one started, I get this one started, and then I go back with the vice grips and then crush it over the top. And then if you really want to be serious about good contact, you can take solder and a torch, like a soldering torch, and you can solder the wire into the contact. These are coated with something that the rosin core solder sticks to. You do acid core for structural stuff and rosin core for electrical stuff. And there are special tools that you can buy to crimp these. Some you hit with a hammer, some are even hydraulic powered. But you just want to get a good grip on this thing. You just want to get a good wrap on it. And then we'll do some protective wrap with some electrical tape. But you just kind of have a strategy to get it bent over, and then at the end, crush it. The cam lock of the vice grips does a really good job to make that happen, get the forces that you need. Here's the seal the deal kind of move. And that will not come off. Once you wrap it in tape, you can't tell that I didn't use the professional tool. We've got these to where they are just tank, they're bomber kind of stuff. So what's the difference between dielectric grease and silicone? Nothing. The label on the bottle.
Really?
Yeah, it's just silicone. That's all it is. So we're going to stuff this, and more than anything, this just displaces any potential moisture or rust from getting in there. And then we're just going to pull tight when we wrap it in electrical tape, and that'll help to keep it from arcing on anything. So this layer protects against moisture. This one we're going to wrap the tape on itself so it's got something clean to hold on to. And then we're basically just going to shrink wrap that, because obviously it can't stick to where the silicone is, but it's just going to stick to itself and just pile up so that we don't arc a wrench or something on it. We're just going to give it a nice thick heavy coat of tape, and that way if we bump it or hit it, it won't penetrate through the tape and arc. Less is more when it comes to the silicone, because when you go to tape it, it's a lot harder when you use as much as I did there. I was thinking about filming in cameras at the time. Pardon me. Pull on the tape, that's where the power of the tape is. If it's stretching a little bit, you're doing it right. If you can see the form of the thing you're taping, you're doing it right. That'll help it to hold tight and do its job, what it's designed to do. We'll attach these to the other part of the terminal, the one that you see here, and then we'll tape around the outside of that, so just the business end of it that goes on the battery will be exposed. Alright, we could run it this way and have it flat across the top, or run it this way. Either way doesn't matter. On this one, for kicks and giggles, I'm going to go this way. So I've got the bolt out completely. I still use the plate just because it helps to have contact with the top, more surface area contact. It's a good thing. I'm going to see if I can get my gloves to completely hide this so you can't see what I'm doing. It's top secret, trade secret stuff. Just kidding. And then this guy, I'm going to have this way, and thinking about bending it. Should we bend it? Seems like it would work better if we bend it. So I'm going to get vice grips and choose where it bends. And go like that. And that way it can hang up over the top, just kind of like a Arnold Schwarzenegger cliffhanger movie. Just palm slap that thing.
Come with me if you want to leave.
Get to the chopper. Get this all up in there. And this way, instead of having them come together, we've got the slack that we need to run them this way. And we can kind of match the way they had this as a factory setup.
Got my finger in the way.
About 3 Ugga-Duggas will do it on these with 3/8 drive. From there, we just continue what we started with the tape. Just gonna get wrap happy. Most of this we're doing just to prevent a wrench from tapping it or getting on it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just something to get in the way of an arc.
So I'd like to demonstrate.
And then at the end, pull hard and break it. Positive terminals, they're not straight down, they're not parallel, because there's all kinds of conflicts and problems with that, but they actually slope. They go from skinny to big, and your positive terminal is bigger than your negative terminal. So we're going to have to stretch this one to positive terminal status, and then we'll throw that on and snug it down. That's tight, that's going to have good contact, and it's not going to have any intermittent failings. Is the key in the on position?
Nope, the key's around.
So if it's got an arc of that magnitude, it may have a draw or something that's sucking power, because it shouldn't do anything that you can hear that loud. The way you test for that is to have a multimeter. You take this off, you put one lead on this and one lead on the other and set it to amperage. And if it's less than 50 milliamps, you're good. That's computers staying awake, clocks, stuff like that. But if it's more than that, then something's staying on or shorted to ground. So this little tab right here is the signal that turns the starter on. So a signal goes from the key through this green wire to there, and we can wire brush this pretty easy. And that's why our failure to restart happened, was this. Once I cleaned that up, it restarted fine. And that was just luck, omen, some weird thing for that to fail the way it did. So I'm going to put it on, I'm going to wiggle it, get a little scratch in, a little bedding in, and then push in the rest of the way. Just wrapping up that sleeve and getting things to where they look pretty and tidy again. We've got the starter cleaned up. We've got good battery terminals. When we first came to it this morning, it wouldn't start for anything. I thought I was going to have to winch it up. We did have to jump the starter to get it to go. And now it doesn't have any idle memory, but it starts right up. So these are all the things that we found wrong, just looking over it. These are the symptoms and the lines of correlation between the two. You know, the cause, symptoms, that makes sense. So we may have it fixed, we may have to do some more. We just need to wait and see if fuse 26 blows again or not. It wasn't the battery terminals, because
We blew the fuse again.
So we're going to have to figure out what that is. There may be something with the wiring. There's a bunch of knocking and rattling underneath. We'll locate what that is and see if it's related.
Bonus footage at the end.
You are made of the same substance that has made and formed the universe. You are literally made of stardust. And so is pond scum and dirt and every nasty and filthy thing you can think of. So, well, I guess what I'm saying is don't get so high on yourself. You may be one with everything, but everything isn't all that pleasant. Enjoy your day.